welcome once again to our viewer for the next session of course 3, that is content and services in telecenter.
We have basically tried understanding module 7, which is we have seen 3 modules. One is introduction to the computers. We have seen what is a computer and what is different types of computer hardware available and what is a computer software. And also after that we have seen what are different softwares that are available, and then we have seen different uses, what is the internet, and what are the different internet resources available, and how to use a search engine, and how to create an email account. And in the third unit we have seen different computer troubleshooting and maintenance mechanisms. Now let us move on to module 8, which is very crucial for a telecenter operator or a manager. So the module 8, we will take a little bit of more time for this module, as it's very crucial for you to understand this module. In module 8 there are 3 units available. One is telecenter services, so what, why and how. In unit 2 we will see core services of a telecenter, and in unit 3 we will see auxiliary services of a telecenter. So now let us move on to unit 1. You please open page number 30 in your course 3 book, and it has like 2 major learning outcomes. One is you should be able to understand the importance of services at a telecenter, and the second thing you will understand are different types of telecenter services available. Before we move on to the actual different types of telecenter services, let us try to understand what are the what is the importance of a telecenter services. See, few weeks back I had a meeting with some of our colleagues in BSNL, right? They are setting up some 28,000 telecenters all across the country on different, basically 3 different models. And the basic services they are providing is just internet browsing, and they are charging a nominal fee, and they are saying that is the only service they are offering to the communities. And so far they have set up 4,000 telecenters across the country. When these telecenter operators, when we spoke to these telecenter operators, they said they are really struggling to sustain these telecenters, and hardly 1 or 2 young students come to that center and do online gaming, and then they go back home. So they don't see its sustainability, not in the immediate short term or in the long term as well. So we told them, like, if it continues, maybe down the line 1 or 2 years, you might close down these centers. So what is the relevance of a telecenter if it just provides internet or a browsing services to the community? Just remember, like, if you took 10-15 years to learn a computer operation and using the internet and various other services, imagine a rural villager who doesn't even have time to see a computer. He may not be interested in using a computer just for internet browsing and also, and the knowledge of computers in rural communities are very limited. So what is the alternate? How to make these centers sustainable? So we had gone around and seen like so many telecenters across the country as well as across the globe, and we found people are using various ways to serve the community and make themselves sustainable, right? And the basic purpose of your telecenter is to provide critical services to the community. So imagine a widow who needs to access a widow pension from the government office. She has to go through a lot of pain, and if she has to get the necessary information to reach to the service provider itself, a nightmare. So it takes a hell lot of time to just identify the right source from where she can get that pension. So imagine a telecenter which can collect these various government schemes information and keep it with its own premises and offer this information to those who are in need, can take you to a long way towards sustainability. It's not just about financial sustainability which we are talking about. We are talking about the social relevance and social sustainability of a telecenter, right? So imagine if you just run your telecenter only for a financial motive, it's not going to serve us any purpose. So there should be a social aspect for whatever service you are offering. So there are few elements that you should keep in mind for providing a service. First, the services should serve the needs of the community. See, if you are working in a coastal village, imagine, and you are providing agriculture related information to that coastal village, do you think people will come to you and ask for information? No, because the coastal villages, as we know, may not be doing the agriculture activities. They may be involved in fisheries, and most of them are fisher folks. So their information needs would be completely different from what an agricultural community would need. So what you have to do as a telecenter operator is to understand the needs of the community, and you should try to serve the needs of the community. One, and the second one is the cost of that service should be affordable and cost effective. What does it mean? See, suppose if you are take the same example. If you are working in a coastal village, and if you are offering a market information to the fisher folks, so the fisher folks leave the coastal village maybe in the evening, and they come back very next morning. So basically, if they have to go to catch the fish, they will leave today evening and they will come back only tomorrow morning. So they don't have any access to the coastal village, and if they bring a lot of fish, and they don't know where to sell, so there are middlemen who can bargain and tell them like this is not the market rate, and they will get it at a cheap rate, and then they will go to the market and sell it at a higher price. And at the end of the day, the fisher folks are learning very less money than the middleman, who doesn't do anything other than just waiting for these fisher folks to come in the morning, just convince them that there is no market for the fish, and then they will take it to the market and sell it at a much higher price. So what does it mean? It means when there is no information to those fisher folks available, the middleman makes benefit, and at the end of the day, the loss is the fisher folks. So if you have to provide the market information to the fisher folks, for example, if you are giving in a nearby 2-3 fish market, the going rates are 200 rupees per kilo, and if the middleman asks for like 100 rupees, and the telecenters could easily offer the market information of 2-3 markets around that place for a nominal fee of 10 rupees, right? And the fisher folks would be happy to pay that 10 rupees and sell that fish for 200 rupees in the nearby market, and in turn he earns a profit of around 100 rupees and less the 10 rupees service charge he is paying to the telecenters, and he is making a profit of 190 rupees, right? So he won't mind in paying that for that service. So the cost and the affordability of the fisherman should be taken into account before you provide the services. And the third one is effectiveness. See, for example, if the fisher folks comes at 8 o'clock in the morning and you are giving the same information at 10 o'clock in the morning, there is no use, right? So what you have to do is you should understand the local need and what time they might need the information. So if you open your telecenter only at 10 a.m. in the morning and the fisher folks come at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you should be ready with the information at 8 a.m. and you should provide them the information at 8 o'clock. So that is called effectiveness. So basically, before you even think of providing a service, these are the 3 critical things that you should keep in mind. 1, the needs of the community. 2, the cost of the affordability and cost effectiveness of the services. And the third one is effectiveness, how quickly you provide the service and to what extent it's reliable. So these are the 3 critical elements that a telecenter operator should keep in mind for providing any telecenter service. So the next topic is the section is what, why and how for the services at telecenters. So why do we have to provide the services, right? So basically you should keep in mind, 1, what are the community needs? So what are the ways to identify the community needs? So we might have learned, that the community needs assessment toolkit, which we have developed, which you have already covered in course 1 of this CTVM program. It clearly gives how to identify the community needs, right? So you should keep that CNA toolkit with this community needs assessment toolkit readily available with you, and you should do a quick survey with the community and identify what are the community needs. And the second one is which services should be made available. See, you can think of like plenty of services. The community would come to you and say like, we need 15-20 services they might need from the telecenters. But as a telecenter manager, what you should think is you should understand what are the frequency of services. For example, if it's a market information, the fisher folk might need it like every day in the morning, right? On the other hand, if it's a widow pension, the person may come to you only once. And if it's like some other information, for example, some diarrhea in that area, the people might come to you when there is a need. So you should understand what are the services that are that the community regularly needs. So the frequency of the services should be understood, and the people's affordability of the services should be taken into account. And finally, the reliability of the services. All these three things should be kept in mind before you offer these services through your telecenter. And the next question is, who are the appropriate partners to deliver the required services? What are the local and global alliances you can work out? See, imagine a telecenter manager, he is not a superman or superwoman, right? Basically, they also are from the local community and they do have some limited knowledge about the topic. But they cannot provide all the information by themselves. Take that example of fisher folks, the telecenter which is working in a coastal village. If they have to provide the market information, they should have a reliable source of information at the local market, right? Do you agree with me that suppose if you have to provide the market information, say for example, if you have to provide the mandi rate for an agricultural farmer, you should have a reliable source of information at the mandi, so that you can give that information to the information. You cannot go to that place and get the information and come back and tell them. Then it would be outdated. There is no use of that information, because the market moves within every hour. The market rate changes. So you should have reliable information at the place. Similarly, for example, providing a health service, you cannot provide all the health services. So what you need to do is, you should have a reliable hospital at the back end who can support you with experienced doctors or domain experts. Say for example, educational services, you should have a partnership with the local educational institution who can come and send trainers to train people on computer education, vocational courses as personality development courses. So there is a need for local partnership at for every services, so that the reliability of the services you provide increases. If you are providing and if you are sourcing all the information, it may not be accurate, because your knowledge is also limited, and you may not be able to and there will be a question of credibility for you, because people might come and ask you, yesterday you were a teacher and today you have become a doctor. How come we can rely? And another thing is, people don't believe a local community as such than an outsider. So it's always good to partner with the known, reputed institution in the nearby local area. And then the fourth question that you should ask is what is the revenue potential of each service, right? So suppose if you are offering a printed information and it would cost you like 10-15 rupees, and you cannot give that information for free, and there should be some cost element, basic cost element that you should have. For example, if you are providing a printed market information, and you are spending time on identifying the market information, typing that information and printing that information and giving it to him. So there are 3 costs involved, and identify these 3 costs. It might come to 10-15 rupees, and you add a profit of 10 to 30%. See, for example, if it's 10 rupees, you add 3 more rupees and say like the total cost of this service is 13 rupees. In this process, you are making your center sustainable for the long term. And the 5th way question you should keep in mind: what are the efficient ways to deliver the services, right? For example, I'm reminded of one instance in coastal village of Pondicherry during the tsunami 26th December 2004, when the tsunami struck the coastal village of Puducherry. One of the telecenter's managers, she announced the tsunami arrival through her public addressing system, and she evacuated the entire village within 5-6 minutes. And it's because of that positive thinking by the telecenter manager, like more than 500 people were saved from that coastal village. So you should always think of an efficient ways to deliver the services, and she didn't charge for anything, and it's a life-saving service, and you should, that's why the question of affordability and benefit, these 2 things come in when you deliver the services. And for example, if you are I also come across an innovative way of sending the wavelength and catching the fish catching area through a mobile phone. So MSSR, MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, which is working in coastal villages of Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry, and they are using Fisher Friend, a mobile application developed along with Tata. So they are providing these information on rural fishermen's mobile phones. So before they go to the fishing, they say this will be the air speed, and this will be the waves height, and this is the fish catching area. You have to travel through this much kilometers on this direction, you will get the fish. So this information has made a drastic impact on the livelihoods of these fisher folks. How once they get the information like speed the air comes, they go on the opposite direction, and they know where to get the fish, so that they save a lot of money on diesel, which is used for the boats they go. So what it symbolizes, it increases the livelihood information, and the fisher folks have subscribed it for 50 to 100 rupees per month, and they can save at least around 5,000-6,000 rupees every month. And 6th thing is how to collect feedbacks from the customers. See, it's not just a one-time process. When you offer a services, it's not like you have given the information whether it's useful to them or not. You have collected your money, just don't take your hands off. What you need to do is you should understand how it was helpful for the community, and what was the impact on the community, how did they benefit, and see if that information is not useful, and ask them how effectively they can increase the service. So that feedback is critical for you as a telecenter manager to improve the service delivery. So this is what the importance of telecenter services which we have been talking. And now let us move on to types of telecenter services. See, basically what are the basic services? As I mentioned earlier, the BSNL model or some other models. Most of the telecenters are just providing internet services, and they don't have a vision beyond that. So what is the difference between a cyber cafe and a telecenter? A telecenter should go beyond the for-profit motive, and they should start working towards a social enterprise model, and they should serve the community more than what a telecenter cyber cafe could do. And basically the types of telecenter services are divided into 2 major services. One is the core services. the core services are services which are specific to telecenters. On the other hand, the auxiliary services are additional. They could be added on as we go along, right? And some of the core services that like I'm just listing few of them are one, educational services, and two, financial services, and three, health services, and fourth, e-governance services, and the fifth one is information and knowledge services. And on the other hand, the auxiliary services are rural BPOs, products distribution, advisory services, e-commerce services, and other services which we will see later. So basically, you open your page number 33 on course 3, you will see like this different services, educational services, financial services that are listed in your books. Basically, education, every rural villages does not have awareness about the importance of education. Basically, they think if a children is there, they don't see the value of education. What they look at is if a children is there, they could go to some agricultural land for as a daily wage laborer, and they can earn 10-15 rupees per day. Do you think it's wise to send the children to the farm field? No, you need to create that awareness and capacitate these rural children on various employability skills. Let us see what are those services that could be given later. But there is always, just imagine, 70% of the people are living in rural India, and and most of these educational institutions are concentrated in the urban cities, and people are not aware of it. There are no communication channels for them to come to these urban colleges or universities to pursue their education. So always there is a lack of information and knowledge on educational services. So a telecenter could be always a good channel for providing these services. And the second important service that a telecenter could provide is the financial services. As I mentioned, like at least 50 to 60% of the rural villages they do not have any formal financial accounts. They don't have, much of the villages don't have a bank or extension outlet. So they don't have any, they are not into the formal accounting system in this country. And what happens if these people are not involved in the formal financial system? They don't have a formal credit history, they cannot avail any loans, and at the end what they will do is they will get into the that poverty cycle, which is not good for a vibrant economy like India. So for a sustained economic growth, we need a good vibrant financial system at the rural areas. And the next services that these telecenters could provide are health services. At least 80% of the rural villages are not having formal health services, which means they are suffering from various illness, and they do not have formal health, they do not avail any formal health services. Most of them don't even know where to approach for a service. So what they do in the typical rural villages, or they go to approach any of the local quacks and get some spurious medicines, and these quacks doesn't even know what to subscribe, right? See, usually what they do, if they go for some fever, they will just give a paracetamol and tell them like you continue it for 3 days and it will get over. Just imagine if it's typhoid or a malaria, and do you think paracetamol would help? No. So what you need to do is to create an awareness among the community, right? health awareness, which is critical. And the next core services that a telecenter could provide are e-governance services, right? E-governance services, it's not just e-governance services, the government services. And imagine, like, I'm from a rural area and I don't have a birth certificate so far. So when my parents didn't even know that I have to get a birth certificate when I was born. So that is the kind of awareness the rural villages have. And if they don't have any of the basic government certificates, they may not be able to get any of the government schemes or any government subsidy programs. They may not be able to subscribe to any of the good, for example, NREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. The government is providing 100 days of employment benefits to the rural villages. But if they don't have basic like requirements for subscribing to a program like that, imagine like what would happen to that 70% of the community which is depending on agricultural and other daily wage workers. So in that scenario, what you could do is you could provide them with basic government services, say for example birth certificate, widow pension, and caste certificate, and ration cards, and like name driving licenses, passports. Some of the community people are like in rural Punjab, people are traveling abroad for in search of jobs, like Canada and Middle East and North African countries, also in Kerala, where most of the rural women are working in the Middle East and North African countries as nurses. So there is always requirement for government services. So whatever services, there are at least I heard about 200 services that the government of India and the state governments are offering. And there are ways in which you can address these lack of government schemes in your rural villages. And then let's quickly see what are the information and knowledge services that you could offer. Livelihood information sources. As I mentioned, there are like plenty of livelihood information that a telecenter could offer. Some of them could include like information on agricultural practices. Recently I met a guy from Tamil Nadu, and he has done a wonderful job. What he has done was he has changed the entire landscape of a village, and he has been a pioneer in transforming the surrounding villages also. What he done was he had simply called up the rural soil testing van of MSSRF and tested the soils in that village, and they found most of these villages are using excessive pesticides, and which resulted in non-usability of the soil. They cannot crop the crop anymore. So what they subscribed was to till the entire land and then reuse the land as they subscribed. And he has also taken them to various agricultural universities which are conducting livestock training and other agricultural practices and seeds he has brought for the community, and he has started selling pesticides and others information. So what does it brings us in turn, or like when you provide them with livelihood information, it obviously increases the income of the community. When the income increases, they invest on something which is useful, right? And you should direct them in investing. For example, investing on the children's education, right? Investing on good health practices, and which has a direct impact on the country's economy and GDP, right? And also like fisher folks and various artisans. Like look at rural Bihar, there are plenty of artisans which are doing wonderful works, and you could always provide them with advanced technology services. And you can conduct various awareness campaigns. For example, as in the previous class on 7th of last month, I explained to you about an awareness campaign which was organized by one organization called NICT, which is setting up 2,500 CSCs in Madhya Pradesh. They have run. They've done a wonderful job. They have created an awareness among at least 10,000 villages on HIV and AIDS, and they have worked with NACO on creating awareness among the community. And also, there are other services like community radios and community videographers. So these community radios are very helpful in extending the reach of the telecenters. So we will see this in the next module. Now let us also look at documenting knowledge, local knowledge resources. And there are plenty of local knowledge and wisdom available within the community. As a telecenter manager, it's your responsibility to document the local knowledge. So now let us look at the auxiliary services. So what are these auxiliary services? So the services which we have explained, like education, health, finance, e-governance, information and knowledge services, are core to the services, telecenter services. These are the services which should be there with the community, and you can customize these services as per the need, but these are very critical for a telecenter operation. And without these services, it's not a telecenter, it's typical cyber cafe. So what are these auxiliary services? These auxiliary services are giving a way for improved income for the telecenters. What are these services? First, rural BPOs. What are rural BPOs? You might have heard of urban PPOs. In fact, some of the rural village youths could have come to urban cities in search of job, and they might have ended up in joining some urban BPOs. So the same process could be set up in rural areas. How? See, for example, I remember when I was working with Drishti, the organization has got into an agreement with the Bihar government for providing sugarcane information for sugarcane farmers. So what they need, a group of they didn't need an high-find or highly English speaking urban BPO services. What they need was typical rural villages who can speak rural language, that local language, and who could have a small knowledge on the basic cropping pattern of sugar, and they need to connect with the sugarcane, the nearby agricultural university. Simple. So what Drishti did was they set up a group, small village called Madhubani. They set up a small set of like 10-seater rural BPO, and they started a rural BPO service for the sugarcane farmers. And look at the amount of impact that had on the sugarcane farmers. They had called up these BPO service providers, call center executives, on various cropping information and market information. So this has drastically increased the income of the sugarcane farmers. And also, like BPO services could be you can think of data entry, translation work, and other things. And increasingly, let's look at the second service, which is product distribution. Similar network, Drishti started a visionary thinking, right? What they did was they started using the telecenters for distributing various products, right? Let's see these in the future. And the next service could be advisory services. For example, if a villager comes to you for designing a pamphlet for a local festival, you could always do that services. And you can provide the communication services like email services or voice over Skype calls and telephone lines. All these could be done. And e-governance service, e-commerce services. As I mentioned, there are rural artisans who make wonderful saris, potteries, and so many other things. All these have high value in urban market as well as in around the globe. So people are interested and keen to buy these products. What it needs is to collect the local products and advertise it on the global platform and sell it. And the final set of auxiliary services are you can imagine, like most of the villages are using railway reservations, right? And they need ticket booking on a regular basis, and you could always like use this your telecenters for railway reservation, bus ticket booking, or even air ticket booking, and you could charge a nominal service fee to offer these services. And these telecenters could also act as a collection center for electricity bills, telephone bills, and any other bills, and astrology and matrimonial services. Just a quick experience: when I was doing my research for my MPhil, I came across a telecenter which is very popular among the community for its astrology and matrimonial services. So women go to these telecenters just to take their astrology horoscope and do matchmaking services, and for matrimonial services and market and other research. And this telecenter could always be used for providing market information, market and research. For example, IMRB, which is India's leading market research organization, has plenty of market research that could that are specifically aimed at rural markets. They wanted to understand the purchasing power and purchasing behavior and influencing factor of rural customers. These telecenter operators could be used to identify to do the data collection and give the first-hand information on rural consumers. So this is what Unit 1. In this unit we have seen. What we have seen was what are the different elements of a service, and why, what, and how for the services at a telecenter. And we have also seen 2 types of telecenter services. Thank you so much. Yeah.